So whatever the Messiah is, he's not an angel and he doesn't do miracles, because once nature is godly, you don't need intervention. The coming of Messiah means we naturally serve God and enjoy it more than serving ourselves. That's the bottom line. So is that spiritual or physical? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, so maybe we could address the 6,000 year history gorilla in the room. Okay, with Judaism, you've done us the honor of coming on here and sharing your wisdom with us. What can everybody do? What can non-Jewish people do? What can people that are different belief, that maybe, dare I say, with a little bit of reluctancy, people even maybe, struggling with jealousy of Jewish people. They wish that they were chosen in that way. What can everybody do? What can people do that are connected to their own history? What are we supposed to do about this?
Look, there's nothing wrong with yearning, even if it's for something you're never going to have. What you yearn for is a choice in life. And if you yearn for things that are unworthy, then you're dragging yourself down. If you yearn for things that are worthy, you elevate yourself, even though you won't ever get there. So yearning doesn't have to be physically possible. It's like saying, I wish I were perfect. Well, you're not going to be perfect, but if you give up yearning for it, you're losing some of your motivation or some of your. So yeah, you want to be the chosen people. That's great. Everyone should want to be chosen.
Wait, can everybody be chosen?
No, but everyone can serve God.
Okay.
We serve God as the chosen people, but
Yeah.
everyone was created to serve him. And here's the really amazing good news. A guy says, I have the most boring job in the world. I work in an assembly line, same thing over and over. And every day I drag myself to, I hate this. It is so meaningless. What am I doing with my life? If you work in a factory that produces toothbrushes, you are serving God, because toothbrushes make life easier and better for people. When you make life better for people, you are serving God, because this is God's creation, it's God's world, and you're improving it. You are partnering with God in creation. So, no, you're not going off to a boring job. You're going off to once again make the world a little better, and God owes you for that.
Does that apply to somebody that grew up in a Tibetan monastery?
Who isn't manufacturing anything?
Who is tied into a culture? Who's tied into a culture where I met a guy one time, and he went to my church when I was a kid, and he goes, whatever you believe, just keep doing it. If you believe in some other religion that's not Christianity, do it with your whole heart. It's okay. God will sort it out, type thing.
Yeah.
Is that?
But I think the real question is, how is this making the world better?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, you have this Japanese gardener who is an artist. He just loves the beauty of flowers and symmetry. And so it bothers him whenever he sees a neglected piece of land. So, without asking any questions, he simply goes ahead, pretties it up, designs it, lays it out, plants the flowers, makes it. It's beautiful. Some guy comes over to him and hands him a check. He says, "What is this?" He says, that lawn you just made beautiful, it was my lawn. So I owe you. Anything we do to make the world a little prettier and a little more livable, you're serving God. You're completing his plan, and he owes you. So don't think of it as a boring way of making a living.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as there are never enough toothbrushes. You can imagine the guy who invented the bread slicing machine.
Yeah.
He's a saint. What would we do without that? Without sliced bread, you know?
Right. Right.
So anything you do that makes the world better, you invented the electric toothbrush, straight to heaven. You're going straight to heaven.
Sounds like we're talking a lot about like a lot of kind of like acceptance, because it is very easy to be complain about my lot in life and stuff like that. And to me, it seems like you're talking about kind of like embracing almost like your path and embrace the thing that God has kind of like given you and do it to the best you can, right? And
So that's what I was saying before. It could very well be that we are living a purpose. We just don't know it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the guy who produces anything useful, anything that makes life a little more livable, is serving God and is fulfilling his purpose. He thinks it's just a boring job,
Yeah.
but it's not.
So you have all this wisdom and it's very compelling, but humans are covetous. We want to grasp. We want to there are going to be people that watch this that want to be a part of your world. Are non-Jewish people allowed to come to Jewish church? Are they allowed to read the Torah? Are they allowed to choose their own level of engagement? Are they allowed to go off on flights of fancies where they perceive it their own selfish way? Keeping in mind that we have this tendency as people to want what we see around us, the beautiful things. It's true when you pluck a flower and you have to have it for yourself, that's when it starts to rot right in your hand. If you could just appreciate it from a distance, all the beauty's there for all of us to bask in. But I'm saying, what would you say to people that are enticed by the things you're saying and they want to be involved in it and they can't understand why there are segregations to things, why there's some things appropriate to some and not appropriate to others?
All right.
What could you say to them?
So this is exactly what I'm trying to say, is that no one is excluded from this.
Mm.
So to put it in a very concise, get off your knees and stop asking God for help. Don't use God, serve God. That's it for everybody. So the Jew serves God by keeping kosher. You don't have to, but serve God in the way that you serve God. But no one is exempt from serving God. And at this stage in history, this desire for stuff, we're sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to tell anyone that this is not going to make you happy. They know it because they've got the stuff.
Yeah, so it's true. You don't need a meme even. You don't. Sometimes I go, somebody start a hashtag. Rolls Royces are embarrassing. Somebody start a hashtag. To be this way, but you don't need to. You're right, because capitalism is so good at putting all this stuff in everybody's hands. Most people, for the people that have.
And now that we have it, we realize this is not what we really needed.
Yeah, feeling empty.
And the same is true with sex. Sex has become boring, tedious, distasteful. It's become a religion. You just do it because you have to.
Yeah.
But nobody really cares anymore. It's too much. It's too meaningless. Yeah. And it does not create good relationships. It's predatory. It's using people. So here's the message for every area of life and for every human being on earth. You're not needy. You're needed. Stop acting so pathetic. We're weak and we're born in sin and we're all going to die and we're all going to suffer. And we have to get on our knees and maybe if we pray hard enough, God will be nice to us. What a depressing picture of life. If that's what life is all about, we should all quit and protest.
Some people have. Yeah. So do you see a global shift then with kind of some of the things that we've talked about? I'd like to hear your take on, like, globally, what do you think is happening right now?
Okay. So number one, we started saying before, number one is death doesn't motivate us anymore. I mean, you tell people don't mess with drugs, it could kill you. And they wait for the punchline.
Yeah.
So, what is your point? It'll kill you. So, what's your point? You see, it doesn't work anymore.
We're living out the book of Ecclesiastes. It's like, it's all chasing after the wind. It's vanity, vanity.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
kids are noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when a kid says, why do I have to clean up my room? I didn't ask to be born. He's not depressed.
My son said something to me. He goes, if you just give me endless screen time, because we limit how much time they have on the screen. He goes, if you just give me endless screen time, you'll watch. I'll get bored of it. And then we've done it before and let him. And then he's on the swing in the backyard and we're like, something unsettling about him resolving that to himself. But that's kind of where we are as a people at, is like, yeah, you give me endless pleasure, I'm going to see the limits of it. And I have. And now what? Now what do I do?
Our children are too smart. It's scary. They're not depressed. Don't go for therapy. They're asking a really, really good question. If I didn't ask to be born, why do I have responsibilities?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only answer we've had in history is because otherwise you'll die. And today's kids are like, first of all, I'm not going to die. I'll just go on welfare.
Yeah. Yep. You're not wrong.
Even if I do die, who's going to care? So that is definitely like a cosmic shift in our mentality. And secondly, the pleasure of serving. Everyone wants to serve. So people ask me, how do you feel about the protests, the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests all over the country? Well, I don't agree with it, but don't these people have something better to do with their time? They have no idea where Palestine is. They've never been there. They don't know what the issues are. Why are they devoting so much time to march in the streets in the heat, carrying these signs, screaming about an issue that they have no idea?
You mean specifically the people in the West that are
Yeah,
disconnected from it?
but any place else in Australia,
Yeah.
in England,
Everybody other than probably the people that are actually like, I would imagine
the
that
Middle East.
people that are, as a Jewish person, like, you almost guaranteed have taken some flack, and you're not there. You're not participating in this, but I would assume that you have taken some hate regarding some of this. I would assume, I don't know, maybe not. But then even outside of that, people that aren't directly there have something to say about it.
Right.
It's interesting.
And if something else would come up, they would shift immediately and
Which they do, which
Yeah.
everyone does.
take on another cause. So obviously, all they want is a cause, any cause. So if I would say to them, why are you walking the streets? Wait, go home and make supper. No. Taking care of myself is a dead end. I want a cause. I want to stand for something. And that's, again, a sign of our times. We want to serve a cause or serve others more than we want to take care of ourselves, despite the pop psychology messages, love yourself, validate yourself, take care of yourself, do for yourself. It's sickening. It's producing narcissism. And like your son says, we're already sick of it.
Yeah, narcissism and paranoia. I mean, that's the other side of the coin of narcissism, is crazy levels of paranoia. Because you can't be that self-involved without regarding the others as threats to your indulgence in narcissism.
Or a convenient cause. Oh, I stand for something. I'm serving a cause.
Yeah.
I marched for hours. What were you marching for? What was the difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
So another way of putting it is, this is the pre-messianic adjustment that the world makes, so that when Messiah comes, his message will be readily, gratefully accepted, because
That's interesting.
that's all we want.
But that's interesting. So you're referring to a Messiah now.
Yeah.
That you believe is to come.
Yes.
Yeah. That's we got to talk about.
Well,
that.
I was going to
How much
ask
time
you a
do we
little
have?
bit because every faith has kind of like their eschatology, their idea of like the end times, how things are going to unravel and unfold. And I would love to hear from, like you point out, from your perspective, you know, are we in those times? And do you anticipate that might be something that happens soon, or what
Well,
do you think?
first of all, it better happen soon, or there'll be nothing left to salvage.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
not only do I hope for it, I'm seeing it develop. I'm watching it develop.
Is this Messiah going to be different than everybody expects?
He's just going to be a Jewish leader who has some really good ideas about life,
Okay.
which we can desperately use right now.
Okay.
will he be a form of a rabbi?
I guess
Yeah,
king.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this
Okay.
is.
I mean,
I understand.
the
Yeah.
word Mashiach, the Hebrew word for Messiah, means anointed.
Yeah,
A king is anointed.
yeah.
Well, it's interesting. This I don't want to go too far off a sidetrack, but like we grew up as Christians, right? And so in the church, we don't identify as Christians anymore. We're kind of like not that, I suppose. I don't know. I don't want any label, but growing up in that, we had a Messiah that we grew up believing in, and the story of Christ is often one of like. The thing I took away from it, whether it was talked about or not, was these people didn't expect this one to be this way. And there was all this dispute and contention around the Messiah, and then it ended the way it ended. And so sometimes when Christians talk about the second coming, that's what they believe, I suppose, to you is the first coming. They expect it to be some kind of a second coming. I go, well, if there was all this issue the first time around, and not everybody believed he was the Messiah, and he wasn't what people expected, because at that time people expected king and all this stuff, and then Jesus was this very different figure. I go, well, it says he's going to come in the clouds and every eye will see. The internet operates on a cloud. We've all got phones in our pockets now. Every eye could see. And I'm just like, I know it's a little bit conspiratorial out there, wacky. That's why I asked the question, could this Messiah be different than we expect? What if the Messiah that comes is something that is more universal than even, like, what if it's something that really blows all of our minds? And we go, oh my goodness, it really did come at the perfect time. We didn't anticipate it being this way.
Mm.
And there's more peace than you could throw a stick at. You know?
I certainly hope that there's going to be more than we can imagine. Our imaginations are quite limited,
I know.
But here's the thing. The real question is, and when he comes, what? What? So it's not who are you anticipating, it's what are you anticipating?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if when he comes, we will all repent and go to heaven, that doesn't explain why we've been here, why we've suffered, why we've worked, why we've toiled, doesn't explain that. It's got to be that Messiah comes to make earth into heaven, not take us away from earth to some other place.
Right. Right.
How will that happen? How will earth become the most godly place? We're seeing it happen. This desperate desire for purpose, this pleasure in serving rather than being served. We're getting there. If all human beings on earth serve God, then God is the God of earth, not the God of heaven. So here's the plan. Every human being in the world is designed in such a way that there is something that each human being can do to bring God down to earth, like making toothbrushes. There's something you can do to bring God down to earth so that we don't go to heaven and find that God is not there. Because God started in heaven. That's not his objective. He wants to be our God, God of earth. And the only way that can happen is if we make it happen.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. It does.
So whatever the Messiah is, he's not an angel and he doesn't do miracles. Because once nature is godly, you don't need intervention because nature is good. Supernatural means nature is not going in the right direction, so we have to correct it by bringing in a supernatural. But Messiah is not supernatural because then we fail. The coming of Messiah means we naturally serve God and enjoy it more than serving ourselves. That's the bottom line. So is that spiritual or physical? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well,
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. These ideas, these messages, this approach to life, this approach to Torah, to meaning, and to morals is vital for the world today. And we need to get this message out to the entire world. It is universal, it's essential, it's indispensable. To support this effort, if you want to be a partner in this crime, check out the link and make a donation. It really helps a lot. And thank you in advance.